again, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
As we come to the end of a week filled with hot rhetoric, anger, and much sorrow, we're hoping to have a calm conversation about responsibilities, our responsibilities as citizens and our elected officials' responsibilities as leaders. Responsibility is a theme that frames all the stories we have in this program, from the shootings in Tucson to the ongoing but sometimes forgotten war on terrorism to how we help the still suffering survivors of the earthquake in Haiti. But we begin in Arizona.
In the aftermath of last weekend's tragedy, we're left to wrestle with the question of how best to prevent these kinds of violent incidents in the future. Gun control advocates say that with 80 to 90 gun deaths each day in the U.S., the best answer is more regulation and fewer guns on America's streets. But gun rights advocates think just the opposite, that more guns will make us safer. Back in May, we introduced you to some advocates of what's called the open carry movement. If you're a gun owner, you may already know the term. If not, the open carry advocates want the right to carry guns openly pretty much everywhere. And as you might expect, they oppose many gun regulations. In the wake of the shootings in Tucson, we wanted to see if they'd changed their attitudes at all about guns. So we checked in with them again this week. Here's correspondent John Larson.
You may have seen video this past week of Joe Zamudio, who was lauded by many as a hero in the Tucson tragedy.
I heard it. It was real loud and real fast. Pop, 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 real fast.
24-year-old Zamudio ran towards the line of fire and helped subdue the suspect, Jared Lee Loeffner.
I carry a weapon, so when I heard gunshots, I ran outside to help. And, you know, I was carrying a gun and I would have shot him. I almost did.
And that's what made him a shining example for some in the pro-gun movement.
This tragedy could have been conceivably averted or reduced if there had been an armed gun owner present. One almost was, but that wasn't good enough.
And armed citizenry makes everyone safer in the eyes of Larry Pratt, who runs a 300,000-member group called Gun Owners of America. His message is,
carry a gun. Just like you have homeowners insurance, you hope you never have to use it, and the same thing with a gun.
And that's the same philosophy we heard in Virginia last spring from a group of gun owners who are part of a grassroots movement advocating openly carrying guns in public. The police can't always be around, they told us, so let us protect ourselves.
What are the odds that somebody's going to walk in here into Champs in Virginia and assault you?
I hope they're very low.
It's like a fire extinguisher. Until you have a fire, you don't need it, but you have it.
Every victim in any type of tragedy that you come to was never expecting that tragedy. So right now...
Ed Levine is a former Marine and a lifelong member of the NRA.
I think most Americans understand the right to bear arms, but many wonder why carry it into a restaurant, why carry it into a movie theater.
Well, if you can tell me where the next crime is going to be, then you've basically answered the question. I don't know where the next crime's going to be. I don't know where the next bad guy's going to be. So I want to basically carry wherever I go in my daily life.
Levine says the Arizona shooting proves his point, that if he or any of his friends were there, they would have tried to get off a shot that could have changed the outcome. It's not about guns themselves, he says. It's about who's using them. Levine is part of a growing national movement working to make it more acceptable for the average person to carry a gun around. Across the country, states have been rolling back restrictions on firearms in the 2 years since Obama took office. In 2009, 22 states eased gun control laws, including Arizona, which passed a law to allow people with concealed weapons permits to take their guns into restaurants and bars. Then last year, Arizona became the third state to make it possible for practically anyone over the age of 21 to carry around a concealed weapon without a permit. Today, Arizona's gun laws are among the most permissive in the country. Many credit the National Rifle Association's influence for the successful state-by-state rollback of gun laws. The head of the NRA, Wayne LaPierre, became known for this quote about the political power of the gun lobby.
Our founding fathers understood that the guys with the guns make the rules.
Many politicians take it as gospel that you do not tangle lightly with the NRA, or they'll go after you with their money and their votes. Case in point, the fight over whether to reinstate the 1994 assault weapons ban, which expired in 2004. As a candidate, Obama supported the ban, but during his presidency, it's gone nowhere.
Gun control seems to be, you can't touch it, especially if you're a Democrat or a Democratic leader in this town. The assault weapons ban has expired. How hard will you push, considering it's now considered to be a political loser by Democrats?
Mike, let me say this, that obviously we are and have been focused on the important healing process. The president, again, since I have been with him in 2004, has supported the assault weapons ban, and we continue to do so.
While he may support it, he has taken no action. So far, the only gun legislation the president has signed are laws the NRA actually wanted. Now you can transport guns on Amtrak trains, and now you can take guns into national parks. The president's record on guns has earned him straight Fs from the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence, and advocates like John Rosenthal feel betrayed. This Boston-based real estate developer runs a group called Stop Handgun Violence. 3 years ago, he advised the Obama campaign on gun policy.
I'm horribly disappointed with President Obama on guns.
And am I wrong, or didn't you sort of help write some of his policies when he was running for office?
He's done a complete about-face. President Obama and his strategic advisors have made a very strategic decision. Guys like me who are concerned about gun violence prevention, whether we own guns or not, are still going to vote for him versus Sarah Palin.
Rosenthal, who's a gun owner himself, has been fighting for years to close what's known as the gun show loophole. This is where you can avoid background checks simply by purchasing your guns from private sellers.
I don't want to stop any law-abiding gun owner from getting firearms. I'm one of those people. But Congress, and the President, by the way, allows people to buy firearms, an unlimited number of assault weapons, handguns, you name it, in 33 states from private individuals without a background check or ID.
In the Arizona case, the alleged gunman legally bought his Glock pistol at a Sportsman's Warehouse in Tucson in November. Despite evidence that the suspect was unstable, he was never declared mentally unfit by a court, so his name did not appear in the federal background check database. While some states, like Massachusetts, require a police report, plus an authorized gun license and safety training before you can buy a gun, Arizona requires only the federal minimum background check. A 2008 study in a journal of the American Psychiatric Association found that people with a history of mental disorders had no more trouble getting access to guns than people without mental health problems.
The firearms debate is going to go on.
Still, Larry Pratt of Gun Owners of America says he thinks the federal government should have virtually no authority over firearms.
Should the government somehow try to keep guns out of the hands of the mentally ill by checking medical records or attaching?
Only if there's been a trial and the person has been convicted as likely to be a danger or has been a danger to self or others. But without due process, no.
Should the government be involved in keeping guns out of the hands of mentally ill individuals who may have gone to a doctor or checked into a hospital for depression or anger, but haven't gone through a full-blown trial to establish their mental illness?
If there's been no due process, the government has no proper role.
Pratt says the problem is criminals will always find guns, no matter what the regulations. Ed Levine agrees, and he says he'll continue to fight to protect his Second Amendment rights so he can protect himself.
Don't keep me from keeping a gun. Don't keep me from defending my family. If you don't want to defend yours and you don't want to have a gun, don't. But it's my right, let me exercise it.
First, some personal history. I'm a Southerner who grew up with and around guns. I own some still. My father gave me a .22 rifle when I was 9 and a .410 shotgun when I was 10. I've inherited many of my family's guns, including a rifle made by my great-great-great-grandfather, which I'll preserve and give to my son. One of the central memories of my childhood is of hunting. Not very well, I'm a terrible shot. Quail and dove and grouse on a farm on the Tennessee River. Tragically, my mind has all too frequent occasion to return to that time and that place, to the smells of cordite and of home. Whenever there's news of a terrible shooting, I wonder why America has so miserably failed to enact even common sense gun legislation. I'm not advocating a total ban, even on handguns. But I am embarrassed and ashamed that so many Second Amendment true believers are unable to make sound distinctions between sporting arms that tend to be used responsibly and the vicious, unnecessary machinery of human death, like that allegedly wielded by Jared Lee Loughner in Tucson. This is the type of gun that the shooter in Arizona is charged with using, a Glock 9mm. This is a clip used by law enforcement when they carry this weapon. And this is the kind of clip that Loughner is charged with using. What on earth could such a thing be good for, except for rapidly ending as many human lives in as short a space of time as possible? Congress banned such clips in 1994 under President Clinton. In 2004, under the second President Bush, they were allowed back on the legal U.S. market. So were other assault weapons banned for the previous decade. Of course, the alleged murderer in Tucson was by all accounts mentally ill and susceptible to substance abuse. Could he have put his hands on this type of Glock and this type of clip illegally? Sure he could have, but he didn't have to. Here, the system, such as it is, failed on 2 counts. First, there should be, as New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg has proposed, a strengthening of regulations that keep those with certain kinds of mental health and substance abuse records from being able to purchase firearms for a given period of time. We cannot control the dark meanderings of every disturbed person in America, but we can make relevant facts already in the public record available to gun sellers. And we should not be allowing the sale of clips like this. The power of the gun lobby is such that the issues surrounding guns and ammunition have been notably absent from broad debate for 15 years or so. Politicians, including many Democratic ones, linked the 1994 Republican landslide to the passage of the assault weapons ban and decided never again. How about applying that steely resolve to something other than electoral survival, like, say, the survival of 9-year-old girls and federal judges and congressional aides who are in a Safeway parking lot on a Saturday morning? Now, Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy and Senator Frank Lautenberg are sponsoring legislation to restore the ban on such weapons. The argument from Second Amendment purists that such things will then only find their way to the black market is unconvincing. The perfect cannot be the enemy of the good. A ban on these clips would mark a step toward bringing order out of the chaos of the Tucson tragedy. And the bringing about of order is the first and fundamental task of government. We accept limits on our rights for the sake of a larger social compact all the time. This pistol with this high-capacity clip is a tool of destruction. I say this as someone who doesn't want to give up my own guns, but who believes that with rights come responsibilities. Yes, liberty is precious, but so is life. It should not be so difficult for men and women of good will and good heart and sound mind to find the right balance between the two.